Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video today I want to answer a question that I got on a older video. The video was me explaining how do I print tips on printing your own tarot and oracle decks at home. And the question was by I have it actually here, the Bear Pantry Show. And she asks about aligning the back of the cards when printing and also about making a box. So I'm going to try to answer those two questions and show you the tips and tricks that I use. So I made my mini decks on Canva. So this is a mini version of my D&D tarot, which I have in here. This is the big thing. And I did this mini version to create stickers, actually. Here they are, like little stickers for journaling about each card of this deck. And so this is what you're seeing. So what do I do to make sure that the alignment of my mini tarot with the backs comes out okay? In this case that I showed you was just for stickers, but I do print my decks in mini format for my own use. So I have to worry about that. So one of the things, the first thing I like to do is I lay out my cards in here, like one of the pages. This is the first page, for example, but every other page has the absolutely the same layout. It's 5 cards by 4 cards, so I can fit 20 little cards into a single printer sheet of paper. And what do I do after I have this block of images is I put them right in the center of the paper. So in my page here, this margin to the right is exactly the same size as this margin to the left, and the same thing for the top and the bottom. So it's centered. This full block, it's centered. Once I have it all centered here, I go into the file settings and I make sure that this option here, rules and guides, this one here at the top, show rules and guides, is enabled, because that is what is going to show me this ruler at the top and at the side. What I do is I can drag, I'm using a tablet here, but with your mouse on your computer, you can do absolutely the same. So I drag it to create the guides that you can see here. If I increase the page, you can see like little faint purplish lines. These are the guides that setting is talking about. So I just put it on the intersection between cards and on the margin, the exterior like border of the final block. That's how I know when I get to the backs of the cards, that's how I know how to align them correctly. So I basically use the same alignment that I use on every other page for this last one. And if I create another page here, you can see that the grids are going to be showing. They show on every single page. So I can create the backs and just duplicate them to fill up the 20 spaces that I have in here. Now, the alignment on printing will depend on your printer. The one I have with me at my home is a Canon G3010, if I'm not mistaken. I am going to put in the comments if it's something different. And I learned how to use that printer. And I don't mean like using it to print, scan, and make copies. I learned how to properly clean, feed the containers of ink, uh, adjust it, solve problems, solve alignment if it comes up. I really read the manual, I tested it, I learned online, I looked for videos on that particular model, I learned how to use it, you know? And each printer is going to be different, so you're going to have to do some research about yours. But once your printer is set up and with all the settings aligned and all the settings for alignment very well, you know, calibrated, which you can do on every printer. There are like methods and buttons to press and everything. Once that is done, pretty much your printer will be printing correctly and fairly well aligned front and back. Okay, maybe there's like a millimeter of error because you know it's a home printer, at least mine is a home printer, so you cannot, you know, guarantee that it's going to be perfect, but it's fairly well aligned. Now, um, to make sure that even if there is this slightly small discrepancy between like one side and the other, what I do is I make the backings of my cards that I print at home, I make them very simple so that if there is some difference between one side and the other, it's imperceptible because the design is like very centered. Like this one is just a little icon in the middle, and you cannot really tell from one side and the other if there is some irregularity if you're like using the cards just normally. You have to actually get a ruler and measure it. So that's one way to go around maybe a little bit of imperfections on printing, because this is the actual backings of the card. You know, I had these two spaces blank, so since I was going to use this one for stickers, I just put the back design in here. So if I were to use this one, and let's say my printer is on a bad day, because printers are temperamental, you know, sometimes they just do whatever they want to do and they don't care what you're trying to do. If I were to use this one and let's say the alignment would be a little bit off, I would notice immediately because this design takes up most of the back. It takes up like completely the back. So any like few millimeters off, I would notice a difference between one side and the other. So that's why I decided to go, oops, I decided to go with this design here. Let me not mess up my guides. So that's why I decided to go with this simple design here. Now let me show you this other one. This is a Rider-Waite-Smith example, also a mini tarot. For this one, I chose a different approach. So instead of doing the grid, I just created a pattern, a repeating pattern with a very small like increment. So when I print and cut everything, every card is not going to be like exactly the same, but it's such a tiny element in the pattern that you're not going to notice like any difference on the back. So that's another alternative. Maybe you make a pattern that is this one, maybe it's like a bunch of little tiny dots, maybe it's a very fine grid, whatever it is, something that is going to be repeating so much that when you print and cut, it's not going to be noticeable. And this way, you don't have to worry about aligning things because you're just going to print a general, like very uh fine pattern on the back that honestly, to the eye, when you're pulling cards, seeing a bunch of little dots like this in the back, you're not going to see a difference between one and the other. So that's another alternative that I have used and that work for me. Okay. And in terms of the box, how to create a box like this one was mine. I created this box. So how do I get the like exactly layout and dimensions? Once my deck is printed, I'm going to have a little block, just like this one. This one is very small because I have been using the stickers already, so not all of them are here anymore. So you have this block of cards and you're going to be measuring. So we are going to measure every dimension. So I have here a ruler. You're going to measure the width, the height, and how thick it is. Measure it, save those numbers because you're going to need those. And the tool that I use is this one, this website. Let me try to focus it for you. Okay, it's called templatemaker.nl. This is literally the website. So you go there and you have a lot of different boxes, layouts that you can create, even some crazy ones. You want a tuck box if you want this one, but there are other formats, so you can explore here. The one I like to use is the tuck box format. It's not the best format, but I mean, it's for a mini deck that I don't want to take a lot of space in my bag, so tuck box is the best choice for this type of project, I think. Let me just remember which one of those is a tuck box. I think it's this one. No, this is a gift box. Maybe it's this one. Yes, card box is this one. And here, right below the options, you're going to see the card box, some examples, and the dimensions in here. So this image is going to show you exactly the dimensions that you measured. So we have length, width, and height. Remember your numbers. This is where you put them. So you can choose your unit. I usually work with millimeters or centimeters, but if you're in the US, you have inches as well. So you can select the one that you're using, put the correct numbers in here, and you have other options here that he also explained in the website. So you have like tuck flap, dust flap, thumb hole. So if you want to increase or decrease those sizes, you can come in here for that. You can choose margin for the paper and you can choose the size of paper that you're using. So I usually get a A4 because that's the size of paper I use here, but you can choose from the list. Resolution for me doesn't matter because I just want the template, the outline template, but you can increase the resolution there as well. And then write down, or if you're in the computer screen, it's going to show up like here on the side, but someplace in the screen you're going to have like the page, how it's going to look, so you know what you're doing. And this is your template. You can then download it. You have a create button here. I import this into Canva because Canva can read PDF files as well. So I import into Canva, and if you want, you can just change these colors, design something in these spaces to make a beautiful box. I usually print on these cardboard boxes, so I don't really do designs in here, but you can there. And that's how I do it. It's very simple, it's very easy, it's very fast. That's why I like this website. And if you want to make other crazy boxes, you can do that too. Okay, so I just wanted to answer that question, and it was so detailed and full of information that I couldn't do on a short video. That's why I created this longer one. If that helped you, I would appreciate if you click the like button, comment down below if you have any more questions, and I'll be happy trying to answer them for you. I see you guys in the next video, and bye.